Hi guys, my name is Moran. Welcome to my series Getting Personal, where I gather different stories from Reddit. And today we have a fun episode, I think, because it's all of the stories that make you want to ask, do you hear yourself? The audacity of these people just baffles me. So without further ado, let's dive in. And the first story is, am I the for naming my son after my wife's ex? I, 34 male, have been married to my wife, 35 female, for 6 years. We have always wanted kids, and last year we were lucky enough to finally be able to start our family when my wife found out she was pregnant with our baby boy. We were having a lot of trouble on what to name our child because we had such different ideas for the baby's name, but we decided not to stress about it during the pregnancy and wait until she had our baby to decide the name. After a while, I had decided that I thought it would be good to name our son after my recently deceased father, whose name was Frances. I thought that this would be a perfect name that we would both agree on since she was extremely close with my dad when he was still with us. Before I could tell her about my idea for the name, her water broke and she was having bad contractions, so I rushed her to the ER and forgot about the name entirely. She went into labor and ended up having to get an emergency C-section, which was obviously very unplanned. Afterwards, to try to clear my stress, I was doing the paperwork and decided that I would put down the name Frances as the baby's official name so that when my wife was okay after the surgery, she wouldn't have to worry about choosing the name. Do you hear yourself? In this moment, I didn't realize I had totally forgotten to even tell her about my idea for our son's name. This is the part where I realized that I might be an might be. That's generous. When I told my wife about the name, she instantly flipped out at me. She screamed at me, "You know the name Francis makes me uncomfortable since it's my ex's name." I knew her ex from a previous relationship had the name, but I didn't realize it was that serious and it had totally slipped my mind in the moment. Trying to keep her calm, I said, "Don't worry, babe, it's not that big of a deal. It will all be okay." She instantly screamed back at me, "It won't be okay. My son is going to be walking around for the rest of his life with my ex's name." In the heat of the moment, I shouted back, "Well, it sounds like to me you are still a little bit caught up on him." After that, she screamed back, "Just go," and I knew that there was no point in arguing with her anymore. She hasn't talked to me much since, and we just got home from the hospital and she still is giving me the silent treatment. I don't know if I'm the and I'm not sure how to move forward in this situation. Am I the asshole? Yes, you are big time, and not only for naming your son after your wife's ex, but not telling her about it in the first place. This is one of the most important decisions in anybody's life, naming a child. You didn't even think to inform your wife before naming your child. That is so outrageous. I don't even know what to say. It's one of those situations where I'm like, do you even have to ask if you're an asshole because it's pretty clear you are. Additional info, tiny update. This was her boyfriend from high school and they had a short-term relationship. Also, we talked briefly about naming our son after a family member and she seemed okay with it and she said that we should keep it as an option. And since we couldn't agree on anything else, I thought it would be okay. I also don't constantly think about my wife's exes, so it truly slipped my mind going in. I understand that we can change the name and I plan on talking to her about it. I've read the few responses posted and I'll keep those things in mind when I talk to her. Well, you better fix it because this is ridiculous. Once again, my biggest problem is not with the ex's name. That's secondary, but you didn't think to inform your wife about the name before you put that name down. What the is wrong with you? Got heated from the very first one. Let's see the next one. And it is, am I the asshole for telling my daughter that she is smart and hardworking, but not gifted? My wife and I both have electrical engineering degrees, but I no longer work in the field and am a manager. We have a daughter, 15 female, and a son, 17 male, and both will be headed to university next month. My son is doing a BA and has has not yet picked his major, and my daughter will be studying physics and computer science. My son is also very smart and is a history and language nerd. This post is supposed to be about your daughter. Why the do we need to know about your son? He has no relation to this whatsoever, and yet you insist on giving us a whole lot of information about him. But let's resume. My daughter is smart and hardworking and is attending at an earlier age than usual. She was in a school program for gifted kids. We were having a conversation at dinner the other day, and my wife mentioned how proud she was of our daughter and how lucky we were to have gifted children going to good university programs, and how not many people can do what our daughter did. I was also very happy, but I said that while daughter is really hardworking and smart, I would not say that she's actually gifted, and others can't do it if they put in the same amount of work. You are awful. Her school does a lot to try to admit girls into her program, and my wife helped teach her advanced college level math and physics from an earlier age. She didn't naturally pick it up on her own. If anything, being a younger applicant with the same credentials probably helped her stand out more for the admission committee. That's the definition of being sort of gifted, because you are able to study everything earlier, pass those exams, finish school earlier, and then go to college earlier, and you are getting a lot of things faster and better than everybody else. Like, what do you want from her? I have seen how people can ruin their lives over thinking they're gifted and it going to their head, so I just wanted to caution her about that. That's not the way you caution children about that. Both my wife and daughter are upset at me now. My wife thinks I was trying to put her down, which is not true, and says she is gifted, while my daughter actually agrees with me but says I should not have said it as she already knows. Well, see, your daughter says she already knows and she agrees with you because it's probably not the first instance of you being a jerk like that, and children are naturally picking up their parents' opinions and beliefs, especially when it comes to them, and your daughter probably puts a lot of meaning into your opinions, and so she sort of probably just accepts it because, well, you're her dad, and as her dad you should have been less of a jerk, because maybe you were not trying to put her down, but it certainly sounds awful. Like, she was having a moment, she was receiving praise, and rightfully so, and you insisted on explaining to her that she's not special at all. Baby, you are smart, but not that smart. You can be happy about being smart, but others can do just the exact same thing as you did. Yeah, my asshole here. It might not come across in the post, but I'm genuinely proud and happy for my kids, and beyond what I described here, there was a lot of complimenting and celebration on my part. It comes across in this post that you might be proud, but you genuinely don't think your daughter is all that special. Every parent should think their children are amazing, especially if your daughter finished the gifted children program and now is applying to the university at like 15. That's crazy and that's amazing, and you just refuse to acknowledge that. So are you? Yes. Parents like that just piss me off, because I also had that in my childhood and sometimes even now, where my parents will sort of diminish some of my accomplishments, or when people react to something amazing that you did as if it's just like a normal thing, so you kind of feel like all of the effort, all of the time you put in doesn't really matter, because whatever, anyone can do that, and it always is a very big hit to your mental health, especially when you are 15, when you probably already suffer with a lot of uncertainty, because yes, you are smart and you are cool and you are in a gifted program, but the girl probably does feel scared because she will have to go to the university where everybody is older than her and where she is not yet equipped psychologically to exist as well as others. others. So for you to just go and stomp on her self-esteem like that is extremely cruel and awful. So let's just move on to the next one. I got so mad at this. Am I the for asking my friend when she's going to get a real job? My friend Ruby, female 31, and I, female 32, have known each other since we were 18. Right after her master's, Ruby decided she doesn't want to work in her field and decided to start a small business selling candles and soaps. She claims she's been able to make a living doing that, but I've never seen her business accounts, so I can't confirm nor deny. She lives alone, so unless her parents are helping her parents are dirt poor though, she must at least make a minimum wage. I never questioned her life choices, although I found them odd. What's the point of getting degrees but not using them for anything is beyond me. Well, some people get degrees and then change their minds, or they get degrees to please their parents and never use them because that's not what they wanted in the first place. So like, what's the point? Well, I don't know. There's like billion of points. I met Ruby for coffee on bank holiday Monday and we were chatting. I complained about work, that I was overlooked for promotion again. She sympathized, but when I asked her what's new about her work, she perked up. Honestly, I kind of expected her to keep her success on down low, considering that I was down regarding my job, but she didn't hold back. Apparently, she's just finished editing her book. I had no idea she was writing one, and she sent it to an editor for edits before querying. And she's about to launch her true crime YouTube channel because she's been filming videos for the past few months, so she has a few months pre-recorded. To say that my jaw dropped would be an understatement. This is a woman in her 30s who is still playing around like a child. No real responsibilities, jumping from one thing to another without the care in the world. You're just super jealous. I don't even need to finish the story to make this verdict, but let's see. I care about her, so I thought someone had to say it. No, nobody really had to say it because I doubt you said anything valuable. I asked her when she was planning on getting a real job. What do you mean? She asked me. I explained to her that I thought it was the right time to get a real job, as she can't play all her life and it will come back to bite her when she's older and needs some professional experience when her little ventures fail. Jeez, you're evil. She got really offended and told me she never expected me to say this and thought I was supportive, but I was like the other people who belittled her accomplishments. I said I was nothing like them, and I wasn't belittling them, but recording a few videos and making a few candles wasn't that big of an accomplishment, and that with her intelligence, she was selling herself short when she could be really accomplished if she only worked in her profession. I love how she says I'm nothing like them, and yet in the previous paragraph she was like, you will need professional experience when your little ventures fail. How is that not belittling what she's doing? You're basically telling her whatever you're doing is gonna fail. She told me to off and left the lunch. I thought she'd call apologizing, but no luck. Do you hear yourself? Oh my god. For people like this, I just want to get a slipper to like whack them a couple of times. Anyways, my husband told me I was the because she's my friend, and even if I didn't like it, I should have played along, but I don't know if I agree with him. Real friends tell the truth, and I couldn't just coddle her. She needed someone to show her that she's wasting her time. No, she needs real friends who will actually support her and will give her reasonable advice and not be toxic about her life and not tell her she's gonna inevitably fail. You're just being mean because you're sort of kind of probably jealous and also on a very, very high horse. You should maybe calm down, touch some grass. She still hasn't called and I'm starting to worry. Perhaps they're right and I should have kept my mouth shut for the sake of our friendship. Am I the for asking her? Yes, you are. You are also not a good friend because not everybody's life is the same. Not everybody's path is the same. I mean, I will be perfectly able to survive if something happens to me. I will be perfectly able to find a job, yet I spent a whopping 2 days of my life in the office out of almost 28 years. And some people are just not destined to be in the office. so just off, okay, with your professional experience things. Let's move on to the next story. Am I the for kind of missing my wife's birthday? I, 32 male, have been married to B, 30 female, for about 4 years. Her 30th birthday fell on a Saturday. Her friends threw her a small party for that night. Since we weren't due to arrive at the party until later in the evening, I decided to go golf. My wife seemed a bit irritated when I told her I was leaving, but she didn't say anything or ask me not to. It was a bit crowded at the course, so the game took a bit long. I got home a little less than an hour before we were due to leave. I was a bit rushed on getting ready. My wife was upset with me because she spent the entire day alone and told me that I do not care much about her. If she would have asked, I would have stayed. Am I the definitely in this instance, and it's very little information, but it seems like you and your wife have a very different perception of what birthday is supposed to be. You don't seem to be in tune, but generally I would say, yeah, abandoning your wife without discussing it with her beforehand for the whole entire day is not the greatest thing in the universe, because there is already a sign that she seemed a bit irritated when I told her I was leaving. So it's like, you didn't ask her if she wanted to do something, you didn't ask her what her plans were. You informed her about the fact that you were leaving and she seemed irritated and you left anyway. So it's like, do you even care about your wife? Because like this whole thing with if she would have asked, I would have stayed. Well, it's sort of, I think, in general expectation of any human that likes celebrating their birthdays, that their partners stay with them for the day and that their partner would want to spend the day with them, because, you know, it's an important celebration. Get your together, honestly. The next story is, am I the for driving my boyfriend's expensive car? My boyfriend and I have been together for about a year now. My boyfriend is pretty well off and has a few different nice cars. One in particular he almost never drives. I've rode with him in it before, but when I asked him if I could drive it, he told me no. I was still curious about driving it, so I asked again a while later and he said no again. After this, I realized that the key for it was missing from the rack. I asked him where it went and he wouldn't give me a straight answer, which started an argument. I told him he was treating me like a child over something so minor. Well, you certainly are throwing tantrums like a child, I will give you that. Then we started arguing about something completely different. At one point, he just leaves the house and goes who knows where. While he's gone, I find where he hid the key for the car, and I decide I was finally going to take it out for a spin. I literally just run up to the store around the corner and come back. When I come back, he's already back. I can't even go into the house because he's already in the garage screaming about why did I touch his car. I told him that I obviously could handle it, so it wasn't a problem. Am I the awful? Yes, you are. This is awful. And it's not about if you can handle it or not. It's about boundaries. And if a person doesn't want you touching the car, you shouldn't touch the car. If a person doesn't want you driving the car, that is reasonable. The car may be special to him. It may be just very, very expensive. And he doesn't want anybody to have access to it, and I perfectly get him. And you have to respect people's boundaries. If you were told no, it means no. Yes, he was hiding the keys from you, but there is a reason why he doesn't trust you. And by the way that you eventually stole the car without his permission, I can see why he doesn't trust you. The next story I've got is, am I the for telling my wife that she needs to get over being upset with me for pulling a scare prank on our son? Last Friday night, I, 37 male, was hanging out with my daughter, 10 female, watching a movie. My wife, 34 female, was working late while our son, 9 male, was hanging out with his friend. Around 8 p.m., his friend's mom texted me letting me know that she was driving him home. I thanked her and then let my daughter know that her brother was on his way. She then suggested that we play a prank on him in which we jump out and scare him. I thought it would be a funny practical joke, and And long story short, she and I ended up putting on scary Halloween masks, dimming the lights, and hiding behind a couch. I then texted his friend's mom and told her that his sister and I were watching a movie and to send him to the family room downstairs when he got home. He got home and came in. We heard him come in and say hello and then come down the stairs. When he got close, we jumped out at him and shouted. Now, here's where I fully admit I messed up. I thought he'd just be startled for a second and then would laugh with us over the prank, but that's not what happened. We ended up frightening him way more than I had anticipated. He first started running off and then ended up having a huge trembling, crying adrenaline dump for a long time. I feel really bad, and so did his sister. As you should, because he's way too young for a prank like that, and frankly speaking, this is not a funny prank. You decided to scare the living out of a small child. And it's not like you just jumped out behind the bush when he was going home after school. No, you dimmed the lights. You hid. So it's like a 9-year-old comes to a dark, silent house and two horrifying things jump at him with screaming. What the actual did you think would happen? I would probably lose my if someone did that to me, and I'm a grown-up. I think a lot of grown-ups would not be very happy over this prank. This is the stupidest, at least in this month that I've read, and it just makes me super mad. Anyway, his mother came home not long after and ended up sitting with him, hugging and comforting him. Naturally, she wasn't amused by my antics, which I understand because, again, I screwed up. However, she has stayed mad at me for all these days afterward. She will barely talk to me. I eventually got tired of it and told her that she needed to get over it. I screwed up, but I didn't mean any harm. I just way underestimated how much our prank would scare our son. I also think that our daughter is seeing how she's treating me over it and is being made to feel way too bad over her idea that was just playful, not bad-natured. Well, y'all both learn a lesson not to do stupid shit like that ever again to anyone else. But she just says that I should have known better and won't seem to forgive me because, yeah, you should have. You're a fucking adult, and the idea of scaring your little son should have, rang some bells before you did that. I get it, she's always been a complete mama bear, but it's not as if I don't love our kids too. Was my prank honestly so beyond that I deserve to keep being punished over it? Yeah. I am actually not sure how many days she stayed angry at him because it just says last Friday night and there is no info on which day this is happening. So maybe it's just a few days, maybe it's a week, I don't know, and I frankly speaking don't care because you traumatized your child out of your own recklessness. I don't want to call it stupidity, but it certainly is a very huge lack of consideration as a parent to do that to your child and to be mad on top of that, that your wife is mad at you for a good reason is very manipulative and kind of childish because you did something bad and she has the right to process her emotions for as long as she needs to, and it is a very, very serious thing that you did. So, oh well. I mean, I'm not a fan of silent treatment, to be honest. I don't think it's a good way to go about it, but some people cannot process their emotions otherwise, so can't say anything about that. Anyway, this was the last story I've had for you today. Let me know in the comments your thoughts or just drop the like. I will appreciate anything at this point. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, that's baffling and maybe a little alarming, but take care. I'll see you with another video real soon. Bye.